He once wrote a song, my brother, because we were, at the time, Dashboard Confessional was big thing. Emo was happening.
Big.
Emo was like happening. Like, everybody like loves emo now, but like we were there. We were in it, like in the trenches when the hair was swooping really hard and the chunks were caramel instead of blonde. You know what I mean? There was like this moment that like happened.
Well, me and my white belt were were piecing out, and we were really into rock and roll.
Yeah, you were already leaving the scene behind when it was really at its peak. Back when I was MySpace famous.
Oh, back when Chris was MySpace famous. So the funny thing is that this did kind of the story we are about to tell, a couple stories.
It is closer to that time that we're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Because it was our first wedding anniversary, and we got married in 2007. Our first anniversary trip, the one that kicked it off, the one where we got the matching witch tattoos. 2008. Exactly. We'll never forget because we were stupid and we put the year on the tattoo instead of just doing the hat. We called this one the Witches and Bitches Tour.
I did. And
that
it's
was the
still
name.
a Facebook.
Yeah, it's still a
album.
If you're friends with us on Facebook, you can go and look at this album and you basically get to see the whole trip. We decided that every anniversary when we took these trips, we were going to get matching tattoos. So, the longer we're married, the more tattoos we have that match, essentially.
So
Salem. No.
Salem.
So we
wanted
Salem.
to make like some fun traditional
We love Salem.
trips.
We've been ghost hunting for years.
So it seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
We were like
right
obsessed with wanting to like do
Right
a
place to
road
start.
trip, and we were like, this is close enough.
Yeah, to
we
Boston.
didn't want to do like Florida because like our wedding anniversary is kind of in hurricane season.
Yeah. Well, and our wedding anniversary kind of kicks off Halloween because
But
like
so
it's
people
the
were
end
like,
of
go to the
September.
Poconos, and they're telling us like all these romantic like places, and we were like, Salem.
We're like we like witch history.
We like witches. So
Let's do
witches
that.
and bitches tour.
We were the bitches.
We were definitely
the
bitches.
witches were obviously in Salem.
They were the witches.
Yes.
Okay,
Pissed
so
me off.
here is our itinerary for the trip. We were also really into theme parks and roller coasters, and we wanted to do that too.
Yeah.
So we were going to make a really fun, vacation. We were going to start our first stop was Cedar Point, Ohio.
Which, if you're from like the Midwest,
Big deal. We're going to camp. Again, so some of our trips to save money. Also, it's just a fun experience.
Well, also, we really liked camping at the time.
Yeah. These bangs.
Oh God, you should have not skipped your hair appointment for this.
Shouldn't have. Andrew's like, that was the work.
Yeah, my dentist is like, this is why your teeth are miserable.
Falling out.
Yes, it is.
They're not really falling out. Okay, so
speak for yourself. I lost a tooth in a Milky Way, and I still can't eat a Milky Way.
rambling.
This can all be edited out.
we go back to our story.
Rewind.
So we're back at Cedar Point.
We didn't sleep a lot last night, so I think part of today's sessions are that we're a little tired. We're a little delusional.
Loopy. So we Cedar Point.
Cedar Point.
Then we're going to go to Philadelphia.
Yes.
We're going to see the Liberty Bell.
We're going to see Liberty. We're
Then
going to go on a ghost tour.
So Philadelphia, then
Philly.
Boston, and then Salem. We know we're going to Salem, and we get to Cedar Point, and it just so happens that they flipped the park at that time to be scary.
No, yeah. It was basically their haunted happenings or
Their
whatever.
haunted
Fright Fest. That's Great Flags.
Whatever. It was some scary haunted thing.
Yeah.
So we were like, well,
Great Flags.
This has
America.
the Great Flags.
Great Flags.
So the Great Flags.
Great Flags. Copyright. That's why I'm saying Great Flags. I don't want them to come after me.
That is just all of a sudden we
it
were
just
like, is
flips.
this a theme?
And we're like, oh, great. The whole trip's going to be Halloween.
Halloween.
Perfect. Yeah.
And we're like,
Perfect.
We're into this.
Yeah, we like it.
We were supposed to go on a tour once we got to Philly. As we were arriving into Philly or getting closer to Philly, we knew we were going to miss that tour. It was we were going to be getting in at 6, and all the tours were daytime stuff, not evening stuff.
Yeah.
So as we were going there, I was we decided we knew we were going to do a ghost tour in Salem. So we were like, I wonder if Philly has ghost tours. And then I look and they were like, the best way to get folklore and to see the city when it's all closed up or if you've missed the actual tours, this ghost tour actually takes you to the Liberty Bell.
Yeah, it takes you all the same spots. It just takes you there at night.
This was our first taste.
Yeah.
our first taste of a real ghost tour.
Oh, and we got hooked. Because, we'd been doing our own ghost tours for so long. We were like, this is great. Wasn't the Philly one, I believe, we're all waiting around with this group of people or whatever, and then this person in a cloak, and they have a hunchback. And we're like, oh my God, a cloaked hunchback is going to give us a ghost tour. We're super into this character building type thing. He's like really setting us up for some really, really great stories.
It's like telling us.
Yeah, like
we
when
find
he
out
talks,
he's going
it's
to be
like
our
this,
guide, and we're like, oh, yes.
Like, oh, great, we got the cloaked hunchback as the guide or
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
And I'm saying that's probably not PC and totally incorrect and like really insensitive, and people are going to call me ableist or something when they hear this podcast. But either way, he looked like he had a hunchback under his cloak.
Walked with like a...
And we didn't think he had a hunchback. We thought that maybe he was dressing up, like to play the part or to be like scary or to kind of like add to
I was like,
the folklore.
this is my first ghost tour, so I have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, we didn't know, but he really set the bar up here,
Yeah,
and
so
all of a sudden
we're like little ducks following the hunchback.
Oh yeah, like Mama Duck and all the ducklings just walking down the street in Philly, chilling, hearing all these ghost stories, and then you hear a car stop and windows roll down.
Hey losers!
Hey losers! And then like a slushie comes out the window. And
we really did hear hey losers.
Yeah, we heard hey. There was no slushie, but basically they were like hey losers, and we got made fun of for being on this ghost tour, and
by the college students.
We thought that was just hilarious. Like it was very funny to us.
Other people were mad or a little embarrassed, and we were like, we are
like,
losers.
Yeah, this is funny. We're like, this is.
We're following the hunchback.
Yeah.
So turns out it was not a hunchback, which we knew it wasn't a hunchback.
we knew he wasn't, but we were
as he
at
was
the same
saying
time,
goodbye.
Yeah, he pulled his backpack out to get something out of it. It was just his backpack underneath his cloak. So like when he whipped it around and pulled something out, we were like, oh.
So then we're like, man, Salem.
Philly,
we could just go home at this point.
Yeah, we're like hard to top. Philly was great. So then we go to Boston.
Boston was good.
Boston was good, minus the ticket I got for going down some commercial driveway because I'm not a taxi cab and I'm also not from Boston. And also Boston, how do you drive in that city? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Like, it's really hard.
So anyways, we really liked Boston. We really felt at home. I remember, like...
Nothing crazy happened. We did learn that, like, liquor stores close real early, and it was hard to, like, we went out to dinner. It was hard to find, like, wine or beer to bring home or bring back to the bed and breakfast.
It wasn't going out to dinner. It was, like, they stopped selling it at 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
and I think it was, like, on a Sunday night. So it
might have been. It might have been something like that. But either way, Boston was great. We loved Boston. Let's move on.
We went to Cheers.
We went to Boston.
We did the whole
Now
thing.
we're going to Salem.
So
and this was the main event. We're obsessed with Salem. We're obsessed with Hocus Pocus. This is really what we went for.
Yeah. So we get there early. It's like raining cats and dogs.
Such a cute little inn. Like highly recommend.
The Salem Inn.
The Salem Inn. It's just so cute. And I remember
it's haunted.
Yeah.
We definitely were like, give us the haunted room.
And we definitely like drank all the sherry.
It was our very first night. And a guy was playing a guitar and a great storyteller again.
Yeah. And they had this awesome outdoor patio, I think, that had like these cement or brick stone walls.
And it
goes
right behind me.
And just on the other side of that wall is the second oldest cemetery in the U.S.
Documented,
yeah.
So he was like, the guy was like,
that's just amazing.
Right behind me is, and so he tells us the story.
So that was the hot tip. So first off, we're like, okay, so we're going to go visit this place. But as you might know, if you have any experience ghost hunting, it is illegal to be in a cemetery after dark. Once the sun goes down, you are not allowed to be in a cemetery in most places.
So trespassing happens.
Apparently, we do that. That's something we do.
Well, we decided to drink. We had another couple drinks.
Yeah.
We're definitely tipsy, and we could also walk to our inn. So just so you know, Salem obviously is very walkable.
Yeah, and it was definitely all the ingredients for some shenanigans.
Yeah. We decided that we were going to go to the cemetery.
Right, because you just walk out the door and around the corner, it's right there.
Yeah.
So,
and haunted happenings had just happened or is happening. Yeah. So
but
they still have their carts.
We knew it was dark.
Yeah, but I'm saying it was also still set up for like a festival. So which is why this is even more. The experience was even more different because
surreal.
It had like the motion lights and stuff because it was set up for an event.
Yeah.
And so we like kind of like go through there and we're like hiding and we're setting off the motion lights, but then we like hide like behind like a popcorn machine.
Well, what we did was watch because there were people walking by, so we know we're not supposed to be in the cemetery at night, so we actually did a little bit of reconnaissance. We like sat and watched. We noticed where the lights were going off at and how far they would reach and who was setting them. So we'd wait until they went off and then we'd take off running And then right when they pop back on again, we duck behind some tombstones and wait for the lights to go off again. And then we jump up and do it again in the dark. The lights turn on. We duck down behind some
Till we
tombstones.
could get to the
until we got in the back where they
non-motion
stopped
detector.
kicking on. So we noticed there was like a limit to where like we got to a certain point and then the lights stopped
So we like
kicking on.
froggered it out.
Yeah. So
basically.
we you know,
Video
we
game
trespassed. We officially, I mean, that was like real deal.
And then we were just looking at the graves. I mean, nothing really
That was it.
happened. We
That
were
was
just like,
it.
wow. It was just kind of, funny. Like working
We were
that
just
way.
looking at the headstones because, again, because we're kind of obsessed with this type of stuff. Like at a certain time, the headstone etchings and the stone carvings on the headstones were so interesting because there were always all these different symbolisms that were supposed to either like lead
Protect.
you to death and protect you on your way to heaven, or to keep grave robbers out, or so there was always like the skulls with wings and like all of
Yeah.
these different things that you just don't really see on tombstones today because it's like, it's a flower and
Well, you
John
think it's
lies
dark,
here
and it's
we
like-
think it's too dark, but at the time it was kind of beautiful. It was kind of this like really, really it was like a really nice sentiment that we
Yeah.
left behind.
But it just looks sketch.
Yeah, but now it's like creepy and it's like, the
It's in
rain is
Salem.
wearing it out and it's in Salem.
And these are like very thin.
So we weren't trying to be disrespectful. We just kind of wanted
No, we
to
also
see it in
wanted
the dark.
to find. We were young, and we wanted. I mean, we still would be. The next day, we meet our ghost tour lady, and surprisingly enough, it's just us. Nobody else is on this tour.
That's right.
I remember why. We paid for the upgrade.
That's right.
We wanted the special treatment.
Yeah.
So we did that because you also got the graveyard in addition to.
Oh, that's right. They took you
There
to
was
a few
like
extra
there was
stops
like a
'cause
few
it's
extra
smaller
stops,
group.
and it was just
Right.
us. So it was. Like
I just remember that there was a rival ghost tour.
That's what I was about to
that
get
she shit talked nonstop,
Yes,
basically.
there
Like,
was
she was
a-
they would like she walked by him, and I think there was like they yelled at each other or
Yeah,
something that
they
was
exchanged-
really felt kind of out
They
of
exchanged some
sorts.
words.
Yeah, you know what I
He
mean?
said
Like you
something
could.
about something about she stole my stories or scam. She's a scam.
Yeah.
And we were like, what?
Anyways, they didn't like each other.
They did not.
We went on the ghost tour. It was fantastic. It was such a good tour. She did a
it was
great job.
fantastic.
The inn was booked, or we couldn't get a
Yeah.
room or something like that, and also like expensive, we're on a budget, blah blah blah. But there was this
We were
place to
gonna
camp,
camp.
like on the water.
Yeah.
But it was like a 40-degree night. I think it actually dropped into the 30s that night. It was really cold.
Snow might be coming.
Right, and we didn't
Like,
pack for snow, and
And
or that
it
kind of
didn't-
cold.
It didn't snow,
But either way, so we get to this campsite.
did not.
We see that it's open. It's a shot in the dark. We're like, hopefully they let us camp here because we really didn't have a plan. We were winging it. So, we finally got a hold of somebody. They're like, yeah, sure, you can camp or whatever. So we get in there. It's dark. The tour was over. Here we are yet again, which if you hear any of our stories, you'll realize that we set up the tent in the dark all the time. Like, we're always late to the
the
campsite.
headlights.
Put the headlights on in the car, and we're scrambling around in the dark trying to set up the tent in the dark. So we
pulled
did
up,
that.
The security guard was like,
He's like, "You're
"Oh,"
camping?"
'cause
And we're like, "Yeah."
we-
He's like,
we're
"With a tent?" And we're like,
We're the
"Yeah."
ones who called, and he was like, "Well, with the tent."
He's like, with a tent, and we're like, whatever,
Yeah,
man.
we're
We don't
here-
know. And so he's like, well, here's the
No,
spot.
he
You
goes,
can.
"Do you have you guys have some you guys have blankets or like sleeping bags, right?" We're like, "Yeah." I think we had like a thin cup.
I mean, we had blankets.
We had blankets.
We didn't really prepare.
We
for,
were definitely.
We didn't prepare for cold weather.
We were
camping.
like, "Please, sir, do not check our car."
Yeah. But anyways, what does he care, right? Who cares? I can sleep in my car at the campsite.
He was
whatever.
worried.
He was worried for our well-being.
Yeah, so he
And
let us-
there-
he
he
did
had
let
good
us go.
reason. So we went in. We're setting up the tent. We realized when we get there and we pull in.
Oh, it's
that
cold. It's very cold. We
it's
can't
so
see anything.
cold. But then.
The wind's picking up.
But we look.
Oh yeah.
And all around our tent spot, like we're set up like right here in a corner, and there's this big like corner of other campsites.
We could kind of vaguely
And they're all
in the
RVs.
distance. Yeah, it's all RVs.
So they're all RVs pointed right at us, like facing us, and then we're the literal only tent in this
Little
entire
teeny
campground,
tiny
this teeny tiny
two-person
tent,
tent.
and we're setting up in the dark while they all have like their fires and like they're in their RVs watching their TVs or like having dinner or whatever. We were probably the entertainment for them that night. Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they watched us struggle to put up that tent in the cold
It was
and
like
the extreme
sails.
wind that was happening.
The extreme wind.
I mean, the tent was like.
And I do remember we were like, okay, so the plan, guys, is that we're gonna go ghost hunting at 3 a.m. And so we had to figure out, and I think we asked him, and he was like, why? But we were like, can we leave?
Or and he's like, yeah, of course you can leave. Come back. The
But we were
gates
like,
are unlocked.
I mean, we just want to make sure the gate, and he
Well,
was just like,
so
I'm not even
what
sure
we
why
wanted
you're
to do,
asking.
we set up the tent. We waited as long as we could stand waiting
till
and not
almost
falling
3 a.m.
asleep. And then we decided that we were going to go back and recreate the ghost tour we just took. So we went to every single spot on the tour that she took us to by ourselves.
And we redid the story
And we
together.
redid the ghost
Each
tour.
story.
We gave it to each other. So we were telling each other the stories that we barely could remember. And it was way more fun than it should have. And I think we had some moments caught on film that were just really silly.
Yeah. So we get to one of the haunted places, and we were like, first of all, I like pulled the fence down, and I'm like, you can come through here, which there's a photo somewhere. So I'm giving you the tour, and I'm like, ghosts, come talk to me. And I'm trying to tell the story just like the lady was like telling the story. And we're at this like one house, and all of a sudden we hear like a big noise, like a, and then like a, and we could see like little beady eyes. We're like, it's probably an animal or whatever, but we were like really scared, and we ran. And when we were looking back at our film, there was like weird
Orbs,
or
or
like
dust
just
orbs
like dust
or something.
like just
Yeah, it
weird
was-
things.
Yeah.
And I do remember we were like, we're gonna take this to somebody and ask if is this real? Is this real? Did we capture the ghost? Did we capture him? And I think the answer is yes, we did. So we woke up the next morning, and we realized we were literally on
We were like
the
100
water.
feet from the ocean. Like there was literally a little
It
rocky
was
beach,
a
like just
light-
across the
and
road
and
or
a
a parking.
lighthouse.
Yeah,
And we were like,
it was so pretty.
it was very pretty.
It was cold and it was windy.
And we were like,
It was really pretty.
we set up our tent on this. No
Yeah.
wonder the man was like, "Where?"
And then we left.
So then we left.
We left Salem when we drove back home, and we decided we were going to stop in Ohio again. We were going to
Yeah.
camp.
We were gonna camp, but then weather was like bad in one of the areas we were going to.
So we pulled off a little early and found a spot that it looked like the
was
rain
a
wasn't
good
going to hit. It was like
yeah.
just south of the storm system. We're like, okay, we don't want to camp in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
It was just super windy and cold last night. We just kind of wanted an easier
Yeah.
experience. So we found this
An
campground.
easier experience.
We found this campground.
There's like lights. There's a line. We're like, wow, this must be some busy campground.
Right.
And I can kind of see some signs for a
Yeah.
haunted
So
forest.
So this campground happened to have a haunted hayride or a haunted forest that they set up to where basically all the campsites were actors that had dressed that campsite as a haunted theme, and then they were actors playing.
Well, there was an
the
actual
forest, for the
course.
haunted
There was
forest,
yeah,
yeah.
but they all stayed at the campground.
Yeah,
so
so
it
they all
wasn't
stayed-
like actual people staying there. It was like the workers.
It was just it was just the actors that would come and then perform that evening, or they weren't actually camping there. It was just like
Or
areas
some
that
of
were
them
set up.
might
Some of
have.
them were. Some of them were. Our
Yeah, our
neighbor
neighbor
was.
was.
But anyway, so we went the wrong way. They showed us on the map our campsite. We're like, we didn't do that. We drove through the forest, and
We
it was-
didn't do that. We didn't do that.
We weren't supposed to go through the forest yet. All the actors
You
kept
weren't even-
popping out and being like, like what's going on? It was super weird.
So we like, yeah, whatever.
We set up our campsite. We're like, cool, whatever. But then what happened? We get set up, and then that starts, and we're
We're
like,
lo-
oh, this is why this was a bad idea. It was chainsaws and screams until about 1 o'clock in the morning. It was just like, bzzz, and people just like, like taking off running. So
And sometimes they'd run through your campground.
yeah, and it was
they jump off of
kind of
the-
hilarious, but also kind of like we
Well,
just
and
wanted to
then
sleep
we
on the
wanted
way
to
home.
sleep because it was a long trip.
I was a Royal Ranger, which if those of you who don't know what Royal Rangers are, it's the Christian Boy Scouts, right? So like I grew up in church in the Royal Rangers, and I knew how to start a fire with very few items. So I was very confident in my abilities. I did not have the items I needed to start the fire that night. And it was, I think the wood was wet. I don't remember, but there were some things working against me, and I was really struggling to get our fire started that evening.
And our neighbor saw.
Our neighbor saw and was like, hey, you want some fire starter? And we're like, we sure do. The best part of this, though, was that our neighbor was one of the actors in the haunted forest, and he was dressed like Jason. So my very kind Jason neighbor is like, he's like, hey, you need some fire starter? And he's like got his little machete and his mask or
Well,
whatever.
that was the other guy. Yeah, so they helped us start our fire. They gave us food, too. I think they were like, hey, we're not going to finish this. And we were like, awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, they were super nice neighbors.
Yeah, very sweet.
And then I just
And
remember.
then he'd be like, oh, I've got to go back to work. And he'd put his mask
mask
on,
on
he'd
and,
start
like-
the chainsaw, and then he'd
he
walk
like,
back
yeah,
out.
he saluted me with his, like, axe.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm
And the screams
gonna go
ensued.
to bed now.
We tried, yeah.
And so, yeah, we tried. And it was such a romantic first
Anniversary.
wedding anniversary.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And that is,
the end of the Witches and Bitches tour.
End
That
of-
was anniversary 1.
yeah.
Thanks for listening to our story.
All right.